शन्नो मित्रशं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्पर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्भक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु भक्तारम् ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः Yesterday we saw, what did we see? Lot of things. But in short, what did we see? That the Veda is the mantras are vrityatmaka. Vrityatmaka means they are in the form of thoughts. Thoughts in the sense of they are in the mind. And so they are not just memory. If it is just memory, then you cannot say that it is life and it cannot be used for the vidhi. All this we saw in great detail. So we will continue with this because now it is coming to a very good conclusion. And it's the conclusion where we go to now is just almost not even anticipated. Very nice conclusion. And so let us go there and see what happens. So we need to read a little bit because let's see where we are. Yeah. So we were in the middle of this akshepa, the Purva Paksha. What is the Purva Paksha? Akshara Vishaya Smritya Vritya Mantra Vritti Syat iti che. So perhaps it's all just memory. The person, who is the person? The one who has no other business except to keep on objecting. The person who is not who's not at all thinking about anything else except how to get something in sideways, some presence, make their own presence felt, and try to do something. This is the person. So that person contends the following. What does the objector say? The objector says, well, after all, it's in the form of akshara, syllables, which are again outside of you. They are not within you. Certainly, they're outside. And then, just like every other thing, you are memorizing, and this also you are memorizing. So, this the mantra vritti, the repetition of the mantra is just something rote. It is all because of memory. It has nothing to do with it. Is all smriti. It has nothing to do with vritti. You keep talking of vritti, and there is no vritti here. It is purely memory based. And for that, it was told, Mukhyartha Asambhavat. I'm just summarizing. Na means not really. Why? Because the primary focus of the mantras would be lost. And what is the primary focus of the mantras? They need to be repeated, even in the ritual. Repeat the first one 3 times, repeat the last one 3 times. Like this, the Hota will tell the Advaryu. Hota means Rigvedic priest. Advaryu, Yajurvedic priest. They all have their names. Samaveda priest also is called something, Udgatru. So like this they have names. And so like this, so the Advaryu is told, please chant this 3 times, the first mantra, the first rik means the first mantra in the Rig Veda. Chant And then the 18th mantra, which is the last one in this particular section where they are talking. So they chant that one again 3 times. And so then, if that is the case, if it's just memory, then it will be not possible to create apurva. Punya is not there. Just because you think good thoughts, you don't get punya. You think you relive a vacation that you went somewhere. Ah ha ha, how nice the trees were. Ha, how nice the beach was. Oh, how nice the wind was. And the restaurants were out of this world. And you are recollecting everything, correct? Do you get punya out of this recollection? No. Because it was because of the punya that sent you there in the first place. You had some punya shored up, and then it sent you to this place. And then, if you just recall this place, or if you recall a food item that you had, some food item you had, you really enjoyed, and you recall that and think about it very, very fondly and lovingly, it is not going to generate punya. Unless one is out of one's mind, one will not say it generates punya at all. Absolutely not. Not possible at all. And so therefore, the statements like this, please chant this 3 times. If you want to really complete this ritual, please chant this 10 times. All these things will be wasted. Nirarthakam syat, or something like that he says. What does he say? Yeah, parityaktah syat, mukhyartha choditah. The things that are making you do something in the Veda will all be useless. Parityaktah means as good as given up. And then tasmat मनोवृत्ति उपाधि परिच्छिन्नम मनोवृत्ति निष्ठम आत्म चैतन्यम अनादि निधनम यजुशब्दवाच्यम आत्मविज्ञानम मंत्राः इति. In this last sentence is just a big dynamite revelation, very, very transformative and beautiful. Tasmat. Tasmat means therefore. It's not an ordinary person's tasmat. It is Adi Shankara's tasmat. Adi Shankara's tasmat means you have to wake up. You have to wake up. You have to just look for it. And because it's not just tasmat, it's not any kind of a conclusion. It is a very, very important conclusion of of a person who has thought this out properly. And so tasmat means what? So therefore, tasmat manovritti upadhi parichinnam and manovritti nishtham atma chaitanyam anadhi nidhanam rajushabdavakyam atma vijnanam mantraha. So these mantraha, manovritti nishthaha, they are, we will see all of these, each of these words very, very nicely. It's just an amazing revelation. Because if you just, and what is the revelation? It's a revelation of oneness with everything. If you recall, in all the koshas, it takes to that oneness. So now food is the cause of this body, and then when you look at one person's body, another person's body is also caused by food. Third person's body caused by food. Body of animals, cause of it is food. And so when you abstract it from this particular body, then you see that there is that food becomes Ishvara, which nourishes the body. So we went straight to Ishvara there in where? In the Annamaya Kosha. So the connection to Ishvara, each time I eat, I am one with Ishvara. Food is Ishvara, eater is Ishvara. This is what we said. And then in the Pranamaya Kosha, same thing. So the prana is not just anymore my prana, your prana. It is prana. It is the cause of the universe. It is Sutratma, that which upholds everything that breathes together. It is in the form of the cause of the universe. It is Ishvara in the form of the order of life force, the force of life. And then there again, one abstracted from one's own breathing difficulties, etc., to look at prana as the order of the universe. Then again, there is that connection of one prani, namely I, to this prana, which is everything. Just so amazing. Absolutely amazing. Then, and here we have just been kind of fighting with all the words back and forth, we've been going. But now the time has come to take off. That's really beautiful and amazing. So, what does he say? Mm, yeah, before we get into that sentence, I made myself a note to mention about the punya. The punya that is generated from the repetition of the mantra is called, especially if it is part of the ritual called anga, meaning it's one more part of the ritual. The ritual has many, many parts, and this repetition is one part. Then that punya has a specific name. It is also apurva, but it is called utpatti apurva. Utpatti apurva means the phala is born. Karma phala is born. Utpatti has taken place. You have generated the karma phala by chanting this properly and chanting this 3 times, 10 times, whatever the thing was. Then what happens? Then, so if you ask the question, when do I get this apurva? When can I enjoy it? No. It is held in abeyance. Until when? Until you finish all the other satellite rituals that are part of the main ritual. So just now you have finished one particular ritual and all the other angis are there. The angi you have finished, but then the angas are there. It has many, many angas. Like prayaja, one anga, darsha, paurnamasa, atithi yagya, bhuta yagya, all these things. After you finish everything, then you get the punya in one, it's a package deal. It is kept in abeyance. It's kept in abeyance. And until the main punya comes, all these other things do not come. And what is the main punya? Main punya is the collection of all the angas and everything done properly. And that is called phala apurva, means that punya which now is ready to fall into my grubby paws so that I can enjoy it, so that I'm able to partake it, so that I can make plans and say, okay, I'm going to do this with this, like this. And so this is these two kinds of apurva we should know. Just what should I say, more Vedic trivia. It's kind of nice. So then, so therefore, this repetition, etc., the satellite rituals, etc., bring out that punya which is held in suspense, and that punya is called utpatti apurva, and then all of them cumulatively become what? Phala apurva, means ready to fructify. Ready to fructify. So this is this is what is called why am I talking about this? Because the word mukhya came. So the word mukhya means that phala which is produced by all the cumulative final phala that is produced. That is why it is called mukhya. So otherwise, anyatha mukhyartah choditah parityakta syat. Otherwise, if the mantras are purely based on memory of some kind of a dead thing, then it is not. It is the words of the Veda are all useless. Are all useless. And so if the Veda is purely in the form of vritti, and it's then this is if it's purely in the form of vritti, then I have to understand that and respect that. And then so therefore what? Tasmat manovritti upadi parichinnam atma vijnanam mantraha. So we will see that. It's a very, very big deal. But before that, one more thing to introduce this, we have to look at why this tasmat. Tasmat means therefore. Bhashyakara concludes that it is in the form of vritti alone. This is definitely in the form of vritti alone, Bhashyakara concludes. And then before that, we need to see how to enjoy this conclusion and look at it word by word. Before that, there can be a hidden Purva Paksha, an unarticulated doubt. And what is the doubt? Here, for the last week, for the last week, 3 classes, we have been shouting from the rooftops, vritti, 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 vritti. And this is all manovritti. Mantras are in the form of vritti. Vritti is connected to vidhi, and then vidhi produces punya. Vritti, vritti, vritti. Eating vritti, sleeping vritti. We have been doing all this. We have been immersed in the vritti. What is the use? Well, if we look closely at the vritti, what is the definition of vritti? Kshanika vritti. Kshanika means momentary. Now here, now gone, now, now you see me, now you don't. Why? Because your mind has gone somewhere else. And so now you see, now the mantra is in the mind, and then the mind went somewhere else, so mantra gone. Gone, mantra gone. And so then, and what is these mantras are not ordinary. What mantras are these? They are from the Veda. So if the manomaya, if the mantras are purely vrityatmaka, which is in the form of thought, and thought itself is momentary, then what does the Veda become? Huh? What does the Veda become?
Momentary, like the number.
Momentary. Yeah. After giving the answer, also the answer doesn't come. Okay. So, so Vedas are also momentary. Because if the Vedas are based on this vritti, which is momentary, thoughts, if the Veda is merely a thought world and a thought form, that means what? Then it is also momentary. Veda becomes anitya. Ayyayo, where to go? If Veda becomes anitya, then what is in the Veda? Atma Jnanam. And then how will this Atma Jnanam be communicated with me if everything is anitya? So this is Veda is anitya. Veda is not permanent. Veda is temporary. And if Veda is temporary, everything is temporary, then may as well go to our neighbors. Who are our neighbors? The Buddhists. So may as well go there and study some Buddhist text. May as well do that. Why bother here about Atma and everything if the knowledge of the Atma, which is included in the Veda, is temporary, is in the form of thoughts which are temporary, then the Veda gets the dosha of anitya. So how can this anitya Veda give me nityatvam? Give me means show me that I am nitya. How can it do that? It is absolutely not able to do that. There is an as though contradiction which needs to be looked into, and we can do that in connection with this portion of this the conclusion. Where did that bhashya go now? Somewhere I had it. Yeah. And what is that? Tasmat manovritti upadhi parichinnam manovritti nishtham atma chaitanyam anadi nidhanam yajushabdavacyam atma vijnanam mantraha iti. He covers everything and goes beyond also. So, so therefore, so therefore what? So therefore, we have to see this particular objection which we ourselves have raised. And what is this objection? If the Veda is purely in the form of thoughts, and therefore what? Then, uh, then Veda becomes anitya. And then, so therefore, that does not seem right. And then, so therefore, he says what? Veda is nitya. He tells us that. But what kind of nitya it is? It's not the same nitya as the Atma. It is a particular kind of a perennial permanence called Pravaha Nityatvam. What is Pravaha Nityatvam? A kind of a Nityatvam, a kind of a permanence that comes and goes, but it is relatively permanent. Like what? It enjoys the same permanence as this Jagat. So when the Jagat is projected by Parameshwara, by Ishvara, the Vedas are also projected. Thank God. Otherwise, without Veda, the Jagat, you cannot go through the Jagat. The Veda becomes an instruction booklet for traversing through the Jagat, full of dangerous things, including my own ragadveshas and then my own terrible mind, which I don't know how to deal with it. And so the Veda becomes a primer to deal with this maze called the Jagat. It helps you to come out. Thank God, because first it shows you the way, first it shows you how to be healthy and how to not get caught in the thorns of, in the thorns of all kinds of useless things, and how to extricate yourself from difficult and thorny situations. And then it tells you also that you are the whole, you are free, you are everything. And so, therefore, how can it do that? It does that because it has pravaha nityatva. It comes with the jagat, and when the jagat folds up, when the karma of the jivas, relatively speaking, for this cycle of creation are over, the jagat folds up and becomes again. It was never separate from Ishvara, but it resolves into Ishvara. And then, along with the Jagat folding up, what happens to the Veda? That too folds up. That too folds up and becomes one with Ishvara. And so, therefore, we have what is called Pravaha Nityatvam. And so this Bhagatmakaha Vedaha in the form of words, it is Nitya. And then he also says Anadi. Nidhana Rahita, it is beginningless, it is deathless. So, therefore, this is what it is. So, then how is this possible? The vritti is kshanika, momentary, but then how is this so therefore the object of the thought is also not going to be permanent. Vritti is impermanent. And so, how can we say that Veda is eternal? It should be time bound. Well, that's why we say it enjoys a kind of a nityatvam, pravaha nityatvam, and it is, it is if it is purely vrityatmaka, even this kind of nityatvam is not possible to enjoy. And so, what is the explanation then? It is in the form of vritti, but but with a very different with a very different kind of a blessing. And what is the blessing? It is blessed by Atma Chaitanya. It is blessed by that consciousness. The vritti is upheld by consciousness. Let's not forget that. Vritti is not an independent karta. It's not an independent actor, independent of Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. Here, everything, every place is we find to go back to that. So the vritti is not outside of that. So the vritti is not outside of Ishvara, who created the mind. And so, why are we not talking of Atma and Atma Chaitanya? Atma Chaitanya we are talking about, but it is Maya Upadhi Avachinna Chaitanya. It is Ishvara in the form of the wielder of the Maya Shakti. endowed with Maya Shakti, that Ishvara we are talking about, and that Ishvara alone is in my mind in the form of mantras. Not just in my mind, in every mind. That is the beauty of this here. So now, see what a long way we have come. And it was really, really, really worth the wait, because we see where we are going now. It's just so subtle and so profound at the same time. So then, Vijnana Atma Chaitanya Swarupa Atma, Vijnana Atma. So that means what? It's that this Ishvara is there blessing that. Because when you say Chaitanya, it cannot be, if you talk about it as pure consciousness, it cannot be connected with anything. And so, from the standpoint of the connection to Chaitanyam has to be with another factor. What is that? Sarvagnya, Ishvara, Maya. So this Ishvara is Nitya alone, and therefore the Maya Upadhi being there, and this Ishvaratvam Swa Atmanaha Swataha, and Siddhameva, that consciousness, because of Maya Upadhi, which gains that all knowingness and everything, all the powers that we talk about. And it is just a Maya Upadhi, means the power of that creative Shakti. And then so, therefore what? So therefore, Ishvara is the source of the Veda, like Ishvara is the source of everything. Like the Ishvara is the source of the Jagat, Ishvara is the source of all the things in the Jagat, Ishvara is the source of your body, mind, sense complex, and Ishvara is also the source of all the thoughts in the mind. And so, therefore, what? And then, when the Jagat is fulfilled its purpose, it is withdrawn. Along with that, everything in the Jagat, including the Veda, is withdrawn. Just amazing. And so, therefore, the Veda is connected to me in my head like an articulated mantra or a thought of the mantra, because it is non separate from Ishvara. But what if I don't know any mantra? Even if you don't know any mantra, you are still connected to Ishvara. So, what is Manomaya? Manomaya is my awareness of myself as a being, and that awareness is taking place. It is the awareness is being reflected in the mind, so to speak. And then it's no longer my mind, your mind. Now it just becomes awareness that is capable of projecting thoughts, capable of having thoughts, capable of coming to conclusions. All because of it is borrowing that Maya Shakti from Ishvara, and with that Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti, it is articulating certain mantras, and it is trying to improve each mind. That's why I'm using the word it. So it is trying to improve its life. It is trying to be a person who is well adjusted in society. It is trying to get things for itself, and it is trying to just be. And this is how my thoughts are connected with just even the presence of Ishvara. Ishvara blesses the mind with the thought, floods the mind in the form of the thoughts. And what kind of thoughts? Those thoughts that are auspicious. Auspicious, a compendium of auspicious thoughts is the Veda, real. Because there's nothing inauspicious in the Veda. So the auspicious thoughts comprise my mind, your mind, everybody's mind. Oh, no, 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 you don't know my mind. I think of many, many, many inauspicious things. You may say that. But really speaking, that is an aberration. What is latent is the presence of Ishvara, and the presence of Ishvara is Nitya. Nitya what? Nitya Mangalam. Always, Mangala means always auspicious, always present, always there, always very, 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 what's the word for it? Um, immediate, very, very immediate as the recognition of myself. That is what it is. And so the thoughts, my thought world and the world of Ishvara are non-separate from one another. My thought world has the presence of Ishvara in the form of my desires and in the form of that knowledge which is given to me in the form of the Veda to fulfill those desires. How beautiful this is. So even as I am looking into this desire fulfillment, I'm not away from Ishvara. Even as I'm fulfilling my raga dveshas, I am with Ishvara. Raga is Ishvara, dvesha is Ishvara. The ability to chant the mantras which give me certain fulfillment of these wants and don't wants, that is also Ishvara. It's all Ishvara, 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 all the way. So therefore, the Veda connects me to Bhagavan. And so therefore, when you say Chaitanya, Atma Chaitanyam, it means Karana Bhuta Chaitanyam, that which is in the form of the cause of the universe. With that, Tadatmya Apannam Vedasya. So I have become one with that. My Chaitanya, my consciousness is one with Ishvara in the form of the cause of the universe. And so that is the cause of the entire Jagat. And that is what it is. And so therefore, the Veda is revealed to the Rishis. You can say, and we got it from the Rishis. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because, see, so supposing you don't know something. You don't know something, so what will you do? You will go to somebody who knows that something. You don't know the periodic table. And so you'll go to somebody who has studied chemistry and everything, and then they will know what is the periodic table. And so they will, some sciences they have studied and they will look at the periodic table and they'll explain to you what it means. So now no longer do you have periodic table ignorance. You have periodic table jnanam, we can say, or it is better to say you no longer have periodic table ignorance. Periodic table jnanam is removing periodic table ignorance. But where did this jnanam come from? Don't we can say another head. And then how did that head get it? Another head. So from one head to another, this knowledge is jumping. That means what? The knowledge is already a possibility. And so when I learned that there is such a thing called periodic table and what this periodic table is, when I understand, you know what that means? That means I am no longer ignorant of this one thing. No longer am I ignorant. So where is this knowledge? The knowledge is there as a possibility in every head. What inhibits that knowledge is my own upadhi in the form of the one that is couched in ignorance, covered as it were in ignorance. Atma is not covered. The covering is as though covering is part of the upadhi alone. Upadhistha covering. It's a covering that is connected to the upadhi. And so here, if now I am no longer ignorant of periodic table, it is not any new knowledge. Knowledge is not new. It's with Ishvara all the time. This particular ignorance of the periodic table does not exist anymore. For whom? For you. Because you went and studied, but it may still exist for the neighbor who may not know what this periodic table is. And so the ignorance of this particular Vishaya, this particular object, it exists with reference to a particular antakarana, a particular body, mind, sense complex. So if I gain knowledge from somebody, then do I really gain the knowledge or am I removing ignorance? I am removing ignorance because knowledge is never created. Already knowledge is there. In that same consciousness alone, Ishvara, that knowledge is possible and that knowledge is there. And so when you are privy to that knowledge, when you study something, then Ishvara is revealed immediately because Ishvara is there in the form of knowledge. So when you study something, you can say, before you study, you say, I have ignorance with regard to this particular fact. And then with the use of a means of communication, reading, etc., means of knowledge, then you have removed the ignorance. Knowledge is not new, it is not created, even though people think that, oh, Newton and gravity. Newton did not invent gravity. It was there even before him. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been no Newton. Apple would, if there was no gravity before Newton, then Newton's mother would be floating around. How where would the baby be? Newton, the baby would be floating around somewhere. Apple tree would be floating around somewhere. No, the knowledge of gravity already pre-existent came with the Jagat in the form of Ishvara's knowledge. So the knowledge cannot be new. Knowledge of Atma is also not new. Knowledge of a tree is not new. Knowledge of gravity, the force, gravitational force, also not new. Knowledge of Panchabhutas, five elements, not new. Not new, not new, not new, not new, not new, not new, not new. Then what is it that's new? Your own discovery is new. You say, ha, why? Because your ignorance is removed. And that discovery makes you think, oh, I'm seeing a glimpse of Ishvara. That's why you're excited. Like that Greek scientist who discovered buoyancy. And then how did he discover it? He was getting ready for a bath. And he got into the bathtub. And being a portly fellow, displaced a lot of water. And then suddenly he did the math in his head. The amount that was displaced is proportional to the mass that entered this water. And then he couldn't handle how he got, he understood the law of buoyancy. And then he went around streaking through the streets of ancient Athens and saying, I know it, I know it, I know it, I have found it, I have discovered it. It was already there before. And so many times he might have got into the bathtub till then he never thought of this. Why? It was covered in ignorance. Now the ignorance of this was removed, whether he got it directly from Ishvara or whether he went to a physics teacher and got it, it's the same thing. Ignorance is removed. So there is no such thing called knowledge. And then who is the one who, in whom all knowledge resides, who has no ignorance of any object, that we say Sarvajnaha, Sarvavid, Ishvara. And who teaches Ishvara? If Ishvara finds himself ignorant, Ishvara will not find himself ignorant. In the, excuse me, in the, what is that, 108 names of Lord Shiva. Ishvara Yanamaha. Okay, that I can understand. Unto Ishvara my salutations. Anishvara Ganamaha. Arey, abhi kya ho gaya? Just now Ishvara, and then suddenly Anishvara. Anishvara means not Ishvara. No, no, no. Anishvara doesn't mean not Ishvara. Anisha Ganamaha. Anisha doesn't mean not Ishvara. Isho na vidyate yasya. Saha Anisha. So for the one for whom there is no overlord, that is Anishvara. Not that the person is not Ishvara. See, the nunch can be the negative particle, nunch, the un here before the, when you use the negative particle before consonants, it is a, and when it comes in before the vowels, it is un. So, this negative particle can be resolved in two ways. One is a very simple way. And then the other resolution is Isho na vidyate yasya. The one for whom there is no overlord. There is no Ishvara to guide this Ishvara. There is no another Ishvara. There is not another Ishvara. And so this Ishvara does not have a whit of ignorance. There is nobody, there is no such thing called ignorance at all from standpoint of Ishvara. So where is the ignorance? In the person who asks, in their head, the ignorance as it were resides. So, uh, so Prashtuhu Swarupe Eva, this one Adi Shankara also says that in one Bhashya. And then, so what happens? Each time you remove ignorance, you are no longer ignorant of this, like this. So each time you remove ignorance, you have a peep of Bhagavan, a little darshan of Bhagavan in that little slice of branch of knowledge where you are looking deeply into, where you become one with. You just have darshan of Bhagavan. Because Bhagavan is knowledge. So Parameshwara's jnanam, you get, how lovely, one more detail, one more feature of Bhagavan that you get through this little peephole, through which you see this something that is revealed to you. And so therefore, so all knowledge is revealed, and this is exactly what has to be understood. And so therefore, even though Veda is Vrityatmaka, it has Nityatvam. Even though it is in the form of Vritti, which is Kshanika, it has Nityatvam. And that's why there is no external object. An object outside will be Nashvara, will be subject to destruction. So there is no Pravaha Nityatvam for Ghata, etc. No kind of even the relative permanence is not there. And so, but that's why we have to see the Veda as the five Maha Bhutas, like the five elements. Why? Because along with the Jagat they got manifested, and then along with the Jagat they will get demanifested. And then, so therefore, the objects are not available. The objects in the form of the words of the Veda, along with their meaning and along with their capacity to repeat, are not available for you. Why are they not available for you? Because it is not outside. You cannot objectify. They are not available for you to objectify. That's why they remain in the form of the vritti. And that vritti you can deploy because it is vrityatmaka on the empirical reality. You can repeat it, you can get some goodies, etc., etc., etc. So this is what is Prabaha Nityatvam. And then since it is Prabaha, it has this relative permanence, it gets immediately connected to Atma Chaitanya, to that consciousness, which is I alone. What do you mean to say everything else is not connected to Chaitanya? Everything else is not part of Ishvara. We can't even say part. It's not a projection of Ishvara. Yes, it is. So what about my pot? The Ghata. We keep talking of Ghata. Is not Ghata Ishvara? Yes, Ghata is Ishvara. But then why are your Vedas, which are Vityatmaka in the form of thought, in inner thought world alone, why do you give them more airtime? And why do you give them prerogative and preference over my pot? My pot is also Ishvara. My pot is also not outside of Ishvara Jnana and Ishvara which is in the form of Atma Chaitanya. My pot is not outside of. Yes. It is not. I agree. So then, what's the difference? There is a big difference. In order to access the pot, Indriya Apeksha is there. What is Indriya Apeksha? Indriya Apeksha means the ability to the ability to see the pot. I am dependent upon the eyes. So the sense organs come into the picture. Whereas the Veda being part of the internal world, the sense organs are bypassed, the sense organs are not there. and one doesn't care. So the Indriya Apeksha is there. If Indriya Apeksha is there, then there is Anityatvam, because the Ghata is subject to destruction because it is dependent on a pair of eyes. It is dependent on something, is dependent on a pair of ears, etc. And so anything that is in that has Indriya Apeksha, which is dependent on the sense organs, has Anityatvam. But here what? Vijnana Rupa Atma. Why? Because of Ishvara, who has no antakarana at all. It's a knowledge that's why there is no ignorance. It's a knowledge without a head, okay? Yeah. A knowledge without a head, without needing to hold, without needing an upadhi called the head or the wrinkled brain cells to hold the knowledge. So there is no antakarana. This is very nice. So the knowledge that rests in a conscious being called Ishvara does not depend either on the Indriya, what is that, Apeksha, does not have Indriya Apeksha, is not dependent on the sense organs, and neither is it dependent upon the Antahkarana. Antahkarana means the mind, etc. Ishvara has no mind. Yes, Ishvara is mindless. Every mind is not separate from Ishvara, but Ishvara has no particular mind with which she identifies. That is the idea. Every mind has the presence of Ishvara, and Ishvara is not mind. Mind is Ishvara, Ishvara is not the everything. Thoughts are Ishvara, Ishvara is not just the thoughts. And so here the so along with the Maya Upadhi, Sarvajnatvam, Sarvashaktiman, etc., Sarvavetritvam, all this is there. And then this, so therefore, Tasmat, this Vrityatmaka Veda, the Veda which is in the form of thoughts, continues to be resting in Ishvara, connected to that consciousness, like even the entire Jagat in its unmanifest form is connected to Sarvajna in between cycles of creation. So therefore it is connected to Vijnanamaya Atma. Here we are not talking of Kosha. It's Vijnanamaya Atma, that Atma which is which is Brahman, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, with the Maya that is connected to that Ishvara straight away. Very beautiful. Tasmat manovritti upadhi parichinnam, meaning that which is as though limited by manovritti. The manovritti is the upadhi for which that is called manovritti upadhi parichinnam atma vijnanam. Manovritti means this Vedatmaka vritti. The Veda which is there in the form of thoughts is parichinnam. Parichinnam means what? It is in the form of the mantra, which is as though which is conditioning the mind. That's what it is. It is centered on the vritti, and the vritti becomes the container for the mantras, etc. This is revealed by Parmeshwara. Parmeshwara is Bhagavan. Bhagavan is nothing but Atma, and all the knowledge that is there. That is all the knowledge in general and all the knowledge in particular, and the knowledge of Satyam Jnanam Anantam, this consciousness free of thought, etc. And so that's why the Veda is Nitya, because the Chaitanya is Nitya. Parameshwara is Nitya. So therefore the Veda is therefore Atma Vijnanam Mantraha. Every mantras, all the mantras in the Veda are close to Ishvara. In fact, they are the expression of Ishvara in your mind. But I am not getting any Vedas. Veda is what? Knowledge. So when you have flashes of insight, that is Manomaya, that is Vrityatmaka, and that is connected to Bhagavan. Immediately recognize that as connected to Bhagavan. It's just amazing. Really, really amazing. And because otherwise, what? In the mind, one feels lonely. In the mind, there is the sensation of disconnection. In the mind means mind, heart, etc. In the antakarna, all these disconnections are felt. The alienation is felt there. Disconnection from the Jagat, disconnection from other jivas, and of course, disconnection from oneself, and finally, disconnection from God, Ishvara. Here, there is no disconnection because my mind is what? My mind is an expression of Ishvara's projection. And that my thought world is not outside of Ishvara's knowledge. Even when I complain I'm ignorant, that ignorance has to do with this mind alone. It's not to do with all minds in general. It has to do with the articulation of the ignorance that is felt in this mind. And then when this mind goes to another mind and removes the ignorance, and that is what we call knowledge. There is no new knowledge at all. This is why it is that's why it is centered on Chaitanya straight away. And so therefore what? Vedanam Nityatva. Therefore he continues in the Bhashya. Vedanam Nityatva Upapattihi. Vedanam Nityatva Upapattihi. Look at this argument. I mean, it's just so fascinating. The contours of it are just amazing. What a response. So, evam cha nityatva upapattihi vedana. So the Vedas now have got, because of this argument, the Vedas are, we understand, are endowed with what? They are endowed with Nityatvam, a kind of a Prabhava Nityatvam, a kind of a Nityatvam that comes and goes with the Jagat. If this is not true, Anyatha Vishayatve Rupadivat Anityatvam cha Syat. Na etad yuktam. Anyatha, otherwise. Vishayatve means if there were objects outside. What? The Vedas. If the Vedas, Vedanam Vishayatve, you have to see that. So if the Vedas had Vishayatvam, Vishayatvam means if they were to be capable of being objectified outside, so to speak. Rupa Divat means like form, color, etc. Rupa, rasa, gandha, all that we have to say. Form, color, smell, what else is there? Touch, hearing, sight. All these things, along with like that, anityatvam jasya. Here is what I talked. We've talked about this already. Indriya apeksha is there, etc. So they are anitya. Na etad yuktam. This does not sit well with us because we rely on the Veda for self-knowledge. We rely on the Veda for everything. And to say Veda is anitya for the jiva already moved in anityatvam, this does not sit well. Na etad yuktam. Etad na yuktam. And then so, if the Veda is like a ghata, like a pot, etc., having a form, etc., na etad yuktam, because it will have anityatvam. Why? Because he quotes a mantra here for the hetu. Why should we not say it is anitya? He quotes a mantra. Sarve Vedaha yatra ekam bhavanti sa manasinah atma janana. Beautiful quote from the Taittiriya Aranyaka. Beautiful quote. Exact. I mean, when Adi Shankara quotes, again, it's time to get up and listen. So the Veda says, what does it say? Sarve Vedaha yatra ekam bhavanti. Yatra means what? Yasmin Atmani. In which Atma, eki bhavanti, they are one. And then Chid ekarase Atmani. In that Atma, which is Chid ekarasa. Chid ekarasa means which is nothing but Chit. And in that Atma, they ekatam gachanti. They gain oneness with what? With the Atma alone. Atma chaitanyena ekatvam gachanti. They gain oneness with that Atma. And then at the time of Pralaya, they become one with the Atma. Atma means what? Parmeshwara, Sarvagnya, Maya Upadhi Yukta. So they remain with that Parmeshwara alone. And then, but then even if you say Ekarase Atmani, if you say that, you still have to uh, bring in the connection of Maya Upadhi. Without the Maya connection, there is no connection at all between Atma and anything. Consciousness is consciousness, it's not connected to anything. Everything is not separate from it, but it is not connected to anything. But if you bring in Ishvara, then there is that is wonderful, because then it connects to the Jagat, it connects to the Jiva, it connects to the Ishvara. It is just beautiful. So it makes sense only with Ishvara, not with Brahman or Atma in the form of Satchit Ananda. This is Satchidananda Atma, along with the power to create, project, along with the power to take back, and who is all knowledge. That is what is that. So then all the Vedas gain oneness with this Atma, with this Satchidananda Atma endowed with Maya Upadhi. And what is this Atma? It is the eye of everybody. It's the Atma that is being talked here is not just particular one for Ishvara's Atma like this. No. When we talk of Atma, there is no my Atma, your Atma. There is only one non-dual Atma. And all that is there is this Atma alone. And this Atma is what is being referenced to. That is what it is. All the Vedas gain oneness in which Atma? This is the Atma of all the beings. So, what is the focus here? The focus is to point out what this Atma is. This Atma is Ishvara. It's almost like a Mahavakya here, very interesting. And so the Atma is Vivakshita, that is what is in the context. And then, Yatra Sarve Vedaha Ekatam Bhavanti. Ekatvam Ekatvam Bhavanti. What is that? That Yatra Yasmin Atmani, in which Atma, in which Ishvara, all the Vedas gain oneness. That is the Jananam Atma. Beautiful. That is the Atma of all the people. The I in you and the I in he, she, it, etc. It is the Atma of all the people. Amazing. And then so it is the Jananam. Yeah, he says Jananam. Jananam Atma. And then that Atma alone is Manasinaha. Manasinaha means Manasi Sakshitaya Vartate. That which remains in the mind in the form of Sakshi, the observer, that which obtains as the witness. So this is the mind is Sakshi Bhashya. It is brought to light by that Sakshi Chaitanya, that consciousness which is now in the form of the observer. Sakshitaya Vartate Manasinaha. Manasi Sakshitaya Vartamanaha. And what is that? Sarvesham Jananam Atma. It is the Atma of all. And then it is the Swarupa of the Vastu. It is not separate from Ishvara. So where we are talking of my thought world with all the thoughts that come and go. And then suddenly the connection to Ishvara is beautifully established. So then further, if you look at the Bhashya, where did they go? Iti Shrutihi Nityatmana Ekatvam Bruvati. Iti Shrutihi Nityatmana Ekatvam Bruvati Rigadinam Nityatve Samanjasa Syat. Bruvati is Shaktra Pratyaya, feminine, and so it goes with Shruti. Means present participle. And so the present participle goes with the word Shruti, feminine. So Shruti Bruvati. It's not a verb, okay? It's a present participle. And if it is a verb, we won't say Bruvati. We will say Braviti or Brute. We will not say Bruvati. Bruvati means that Shruti which is talking. Which is talking. So iti Shruti, this Shruti, which is talking, talking of what? She is talking of Nityatmana Ekatvam, the oneness with the Atma. And then rigadinam nityatve samanjasa syat. So that Shruti which talks of, or who is talking, which is talking of what? The oneness with the Atma and the Nitya, the oneness of the Veda with the Atma only will make sense when rigadinam nityatve samanjasa syat. Will make sense only when it is equated to the Ishvara, which is, it is equated to the Rig Veda, etc., which are also Nitya. That is the idea. So, that is just the translation. Let us look at that. So, let us look at it a little more to understand it properly. So, then, Rigadinam Nityatve Samanjasa Syat. If Rig Veda, etc., Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, if the Vedas enjoy perennial permanence, Pravaha Nityatvam, then only it makes sense. Otherwise, what makes sense? The fact that it is all Ishvara's knowledge, then only it makes sense. Otherwise, it will not have meaning. And then he quotes one more Shruti. Let us see what that is. Back to the Bhashya. I thought there was one more quote. Yeah. Richo akshare parame vyoman yasmin devaha adhi vishve nisheduhu. Rigveda Samhita. Okay. Richo akshare parame vyoman. Richo akshare parame vyoman. Yasmin devaha adhi vishve nisheduhu. Nisheduhu means they reside. And actually, adhi nisheduhu should be the whole this thing, because we don't separate we don't separate the prefix from the verb, unless of course it's the Veda. And Veda has the poetic license to do that. So generally in the language we don't do that. So adhi nisheduhu. Vishve devaha adhinisheduhu. Like this we have to read. Okay. Vishve devaha adhinisheduhu. Adhinisheduhu means they reside. And what is this residing? Where do they reside? Richo akshare. They reside, the devas reside in that parame vyoman, in that space which is which is marked by the Rig Veda, etc. In the mantras, the devas reside in the mantras, something like that. It is there. And here adhi nisheduhu, I pointed that out. Then sarva karanatva parame means that which is the source of everything. That is parama. And then in this parame akshare, in this that which is the indeclinable, akshara means indeclinable atma, nasarahite akshare, that which is not subject to destruction. And what is this akshare? Brahmani. In this Brahman, which is Ishvara. What is that? Vyoman. Nasarahite Vyomni. Vyomni means space, but here it's not space. Vyoma sadrishe. Like even space. Like even space. That which is all pervasive like Akasha. In that Atma, Yasmin Devaha. All the Devas. Sarve Devaha. Vishve Devaha. All the Devas. Brahmadhyaha, Hiranyagarbha, all of them. Brahmaji, Hiranyagarbha, all of them, all of the devas, what do? Adhinisheduhu. Brahmani sthitaha yavat. So, Adhi means above. So, they sit there. The idea is they are all there. They are all in this Brahman. And what is this Brahman? They are centered on Brahman and they live in Brahman alone, all the devas. And then, how are they invoked? They are invoked by the mantra varnaha sarve devaha. They are they are all they are all there. They are residing in Brahman, all right. And where is this Brahman? The Brahman is articulated in the mantra. that Brahman which is articulated in the mantras. And so, what is the point of this quotation? It's not about the devas residing, okay? Richo akshare parame, that is what it is. And all the rig mantras, etc., are just what? They are just they are connected to the devatas, that is the idea. Okay, so vrityatmakatve api vedasya vedanam. So even if the Vedas are in the form of vritti, it does not subject itself to erasure. Like ghata, pata, etc., it is free of nasha. It is free of getting destroyed like external objects. It is connected to the karana. So therefore, it becomes what? Vyakta, avyakta, along with the cycles of the creation. So therefore, it has anityatvam, but it's got a long-term pravaha nityatvam. It gets resolved and then it comes back again. So it's different from ghata, pata, etc. It has a perennial flow, and it has this perennial flow. And then this is what we have to understand. This is exactly what we have to understand. Adi Shankara is brilliant here, and also the Shruti is wonderful because the Shruti, after a lot of head breaking in this particular section on the Manomaya Kosha, and the Shruti finally brought the Veda to Bhagavan. And where is the Veda? In the head. And even if you don't know the Veda, all the ways in which the auspicious thoughts and the auspicious activities are there, even if you don't know the Vedas, it is there as a potential. You may have Veda ignorance, but once it is removed, it is there. Because that is what is the connecting feature in all the heads. What is the connecting feature in all the heads? That it is driven by Ishvara Chaitanya, that it is driven by that same consciousness in the form of Ishvara, which is the cause of the universe. Every mind is driven by Ishvara. Every mind is not outside of Ishvara. That is what is the essence of this Manomaya. And that is something which is just fabulous, fantastic. And then suddenly we have Viticha Mantravarnaha Adeshaha Atra Brahmanam. What is this Adesha? Suddenly the word Adesha comes. What is this Adesha? Well, go back to the verse of the Manomaya. Tasya yajure vashiraha digdakshinah pakshah samottarah pakshah Adesha Atma. That Adesha is going forward. In the Shruti is going forward, and Adi Shankara is going forward with the Shruti here. Adesha Atma, having dismissed all the objections and bringing this oneness bringing forth this oneness, Adi Shankara goes to the next word there, Adesha Atma, Atharvangirasa Pucham Pratishtha, Tadapyesha Shloko Bhavati. Adesha means what? Adesha is Brahmanam. Brahmana is not Brahmana Kshatriya, okay? Brahmanam means the prose portion of the Veda. That is what is Brahman. So, and what does the Brahmana, even in Atharva Veda, Brahmana portion is there. Yajur Veda, of course, it is there. What is that? What is Brahmana portion? It tells you what to do and what not to do. That is the Brahmana portion. That is Adesha. Please do this, please don't do. It is also called Iti Kartavyata. Some kind of a blueprint, instruction manual for life. This is what Adesha. Idam evam kartavyam tvaya. This has to be done in this way by you. Idam na kartavyam na deyam. I mean, even in the Taittiriya Upanishad, how to give. Kriya deyam, dhiya deyam, samvida deyam. Then like this, how to give. All this you give with humility, give with a fear that, oh, I wish I could give more. Give with that feeling. And don't give with a sense of entitlement. Shraddhaya deyam. Ashraddhaya adeyam. Don't give when you don't have Shraddha. Don't give. Like this. This is what this is. Ati dishati means upadishati. This is what it teaches. So that is the Adesha. Atra Brahmanam. And then Atideshtabhya means Upadeshtabhya. And so then what is that? Visheshan Atidishati. All the Vishesha means details. Specific details are given, and those details are given not by anything outside, but they have to be given by the Veda only. And then therefore this part of the Brahmana is the Atma. Why? Because it is very important. You can't even study what is that? You cannot even study Atma Vidya without this particular teaching, how to live, how to be, how to follow the golden rule. All this is taught there. And you cannot even do anything without this. And so it is the Atma means the trunk of the bird, to which all the limbs of the various Vedas are connected. And then what else? It's the trunk, because it's the whole portion of the Veda is all about do's and don'ts, and so that therefore that becomes the trunk. And the rishis who saw the Veda are the tail of the bird, because they were given the Veda first, so they uphold the entire bird. Atharva angirasaha puchham pratishtha. So you can say, Atharvana, Angirasa cha, Drishta, Mantraha, Brahmanam cha. So that which was seen by Atharva and Angiras, rishis. And what did they see? Adi Shankara is wonderful here. So he says, they saw mantras. And why is it the pucha? Because they saw the, what is that? Mantra Brahmanam cha Shantika Paustikadi Pratishtha Hetu Karma Pradhanatvat Pucham Pratishtha. So they were given, since they were, in high states of meditation, and since they were highly regarded as spiritually, emotionally mature, and they had all these, they had adhikaritvam. They were given the mantra. They were given all the mantras. What kind of mantras were they given? They were given Shantika mantras. Shantika mantra is not just Shanti mantras, okay? That's why that ka pratyaya is there. And Shantika means that atonement mantras. Knowing full well, Bhagavan knowing full well that this jiva will make a mess of the jivas will make a mess of their lives if they don't, know how to atone, because they have lot of regret, they have lot of pain, they have lot of sorrow, and so the atonement mantras, because of which you get some shanti, prayashchitta karmas, are called shantika mantras, because when the guilt, the regret, and the hurt is gone through these atonement mantras, you are finally at peace. Any kind of prayashchitta karma, therefore omissions and commissions, this is called Shantika mantras. Then similarly, Paushtika mantras. So Shantika mantras remove bad karma, Paushtika mantras put in other things which are nurturing. So, for example, mantras for health, Paushtika mantras, and rituals for health, which makes everything very efficacious. And then, of course, if there are any omissions and commissions in the rituals, then you need the Shantika mantra again. And then, so the two of them constitute the tail of this bird. And so you say this even in the thing, at the end of the puja, if you're there in a temple, so they'll say, please forgive this. Grinhatu sarvam. Mantra lope, tantra lope, kriya lope, shraddha lope, shakti lope, vihitadi karma lope. And then this lopa means when I have done truti, when I have dropped something, it is called lopa. When I have dropped a step in the mantra, I have dropped a step in the tantra, I have dropped a step in the puja, everything. Then, yatha nushchitam, we have tried our best to do it exactly how we were supposed to. Yatha nushchitam sarvam preetikaram bhuyat iti mahanto na grinhantu. Please take it. However it is, please take it. Please bless whatever has been there. And this is all Shantika. You're telling Bhagavan that this puja is imperfect, but please take it. Do not give us bad results as a result of it. This is a Shantika mantra. Then Paustika is there for certain gaining some positive ends. Certain rituals are there. They are and so these two become the karma pradhana. They are based on the rituals and they are pratishtha hetu. So the karmas, the Shantika karmas and the Paustika karmas are the cause of the pratishtha. What is pratishtha? That which makes the ritual efficacious. That's why it is Pucham pratishtha. And then what finally? Tadapyesha shloko bhavati iti manomaya prakashakaha purvavat. And of course, he says Purvavata because at the end of every kosha we have what is that? Tadapyesha shloko bhavati. Esha shlokaha bhavati. What does it mean? Mantraha bhavati. This mantra is there. What is this mantra? Manomaya kosha. So this mantra is in the Manomaya kosha. Tasmin vishaye Manomaya kosha vishaye ayam shlokaha bhavati. So this is connected to the Manomaya kosha and it is Manomaya prakashakaha. It throws light upon the Manomaya kosha and therefore it is this shloka, meaning it has come to the discussion of the Manomaya has come to a conclusion. But then what happens to the person who has been understanding that the Manomaya is Vrityatmaka and it is connected to Ishvara? That we will see when we come back next time. And when is next time? I think 2 weeks from now. Because this weekend we have the President's Day weekend retreat. And I think is there anybody that doesn't have the flyer? Everybody got the flyer, I think. But just in case, I will share it one more time. You can come. It will be in this classroom only, so you can get all the details there. And there is a question. Ishvara has no antakarana, and therefore no ignorance. Antakarana is where the ignorance makes the home. My doubt is for the Jnani, Antakarana is there, even though they know that it is one with everything. Does that mean they will entertain ignorance? No, no. Jnani won't entertain ignorance because the Antakarana has become Badhita. Antakarana has become sublated, as though that. So the Jnani has a body also. Does that mean if there is ignorance? No. Jnani has a mind, Jnani has a body, and so the body doesn't go away just because Jnanam takes place. That is what it is. So here we have to look at this like this, that the Antakarna of the Jnani is, before the Jnani became a Jnani, the Jnani had a free Antakarna, meaning through dharma and knowledge, the Antakarna was freed of raga dveshas, and Antakarna is just like like a button when you press it, nothing happens. A button that has been deactivated. Before it was giving shock. So they came and the electrician came and deactivated it. So now you press it, nothing happens. So you push the Jnani and press the Jnani's Antakarna. There is no reactivity. Okay, all the best. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadav Purnameva Vishishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. So I will see you on Friday evening. 5 days you can enjoy off. All right. Okay.